in today's video, I'm going to be talking about how you can go from the teaching visa in Korea to the F27 visa. Before we get started, you might be wondering, what is the F27 visa? And it is more or less a self-sponsored working visa that grants you the ability to live and work in Korea without needing visa sponsorship from a school or workplace. Usually when people come to Korea as an English teacher or an office worker, this is the coveted visa that everyone wants to get into because it is the visa that will free you from your employer. Some people call it a residency visa, and also you might hear the points-based visa. These are all essentially names for this visa. The main reason that myself and so many other people want this visa is because once you switch to this visa, you have the ability to apply to any job you want. As long as you go through the application process, you go through the interviews, and the job wants to hire you, then you can work there. There's so many benefits to this visa, but I think the key points are essentially you can apply for any job that you want, you can quit whenever you want, and you have more ease and flexibility to find a new job. So there are actually a few disadvantages once you get this visa, so I thought it would be really important for you guys to be aware what those disadvantages are before you make the switch. So one big disadvantage if you are coming from a background as an English teacher to this visa is that as an English teacher, it's usually optional for you to pay into unemployment insurance. But once you switch to the F27 visa, it is now going to be required that you pay unemployment insurance, which means you're going to lose a little bit more money in your paycheck. The difference between my standard paycheck and my paycheck with that money taken out was so negligible that I really didn't notice. But if you are switching to this visa and you work as an English teacher, you will need to tell your workplace as soon as you get the visa that they need to start paying for that. Because if you don't pay the unemployment insurance while on your visa, you will be forced to pay it back later. Another overlooked disadvantage to getting this visa is that at any given time, whether you are employed or unemployed, you are required to participate in the national health insurance system. And you might be wondering, why is that a disadvantage? We get national free health insurance. Well, the disadvantage is if you ever find yourself unemployed, you will be expected to pay for health insurance. The minimum health insurance that you have to pay, I think, is anywhere between 110,000 won and 130,000 won. So it's something to keep in mind if you switch to this visa and then you decide to take a break from work. You will be getting this bill in the mail, so just make sure that you prepare and you have money set aside to pay for it. Another disadvantage to this visa is that if you leave the country for more than 90 days at any given time, they automatically will just cancel your visa. There are about 3 basic requirements that you have to be eligible to apply for this visa. So you have to have been living in Korea consecutively on some kind of visa for 3 years. And you have to currently be on one of the eligible visas to apply. And thirdly, you have to have at least 80 points total in order to be eligible. The only exception to that rule being if your gross annual salary is 40 million won or greater, then you can actually apply after 1 year and you don't have to wait the full 3 years. You are essentially going to be going to immigration with a huge stack of papers. Now, some of the more basic documents that you're going to need are, first, obviously you will need your ARC card and your passport. Also, keep in mind that when you go to immigration to submit this application, they're going to keep your ARC card. So before you go, I highly recommend taking a copy of your ARC front and back for you to keep as a personal reference. That way, while you're waiting for them to process this visa, you have some sort of record of your ARC card. Then you're just going to need proof of housing, and you don't even need to bring your original lease, you can just bring a copy. If the housing is not listed under your name and it's listed under someone else's name because you're probably in school-sponsored housing or maybe you're living with a friend, then you're going to need to also submit the confirmation of residence accommodation form. Then you will actually need a copy of their housing lease from them in addition to this form, and you'll have to bring them both to immigration. Then you will also need your criminal record check. So if you worked in a public school or in a hagwon, you've already submitted a criminal record check. either to the Office of Education or to immigration directly. So where your criminal record check is located is going to be based off of where you were your first year in Korea. So if you came to Korea as a public school teacher, that Office of Education that you originally were employed with is going to have this copy of your criminal record check. If you're working for a hagwon though, you likely submitted the criminal record check directly to the immigration office when you first came to Korea. You just need to go to an immigration office to get a copy of it. So you can go before your appointment, but I highly recommend going a different day whenever you're free. Somewhere in the building there will be a place where you can pick up documents, and you can go there and request for them to provide an authorized copy. You should be able to use the criminal record check you already submitted as an English teacher, but in some rare cases it might get rejected, or you might go to the office and find that it's not there. And in that case, you will have to prepare a totally new criminal record check. And that's why I say you should go and try to pick up this form in advance. So if you have any problems with it, you have time to get a new criminal record check if you need one. You're also going to need a confirmation of the entrance and exit dates for your, I guess, sojourn in Korea. Essentially what this document is a list of dates of when you came and left from Korea. So you can pick up this document in two locations. So one is the immigration office, and the second is a local office in your neighborhood. When you request this document, you will want to give the approximate date of when you first came to Korea, and then you want it to be until now. So for example, I came to Korea like sometime August of 2015. So I usually just tell them that I need this form and I need it from 2015 until now. This form is just to essentially prove to immigration that you never left Korea for a period of 90 days or more. Because if you have left Korea for 90 days or more, then the criminal record check that you have is likely not going to be valid and you will have to get a new one. But there's nothing to worry about, because if you've consecutively been working as an English teacher, every time you submit that form, you still have the same requirement of not leaving Korea for more than 3 months. So as long as you continue to work as an English teacher, you really don't have anything to worry about with that form. So those were all of the basic documents that everyone more or less has to prepare for this visa. And now let's talk about what kind of documents you need to prepare in order to get the 80 points. So this is what the points sheet is going to look like. And you can essentially get points for several categories here, which you can add up at the top. So the first category is going to be age. In order to prove which age bracket you are in, you are just going to need your passport. The next category is education. So you can get points depending on your level of education and how many degrees you received. So these are the points if you have a BA degree, so Bachelor's of Arts, if you have a Bachelor's of Science, or you have 2 bachelor's degrees, if you have a Master's of Arts, or a Master's of Science, or 2 degrees here, a PhD in the arts, or a PhD in the sciences, or just 2 PhDs in general. In order to prove your education, just like you would with an E2 visa, you will need an apostilled copy of your diploma. So the next category, and probably the make it or break it category, is going to be your Korean level. This can either be achieved with the KIP program or your topic test scores. So if you look at the chart here, this is going to be level 1 KIP or topic, level 2 KIP or topic, level 3 KIP or topic, 4, and then level 5. So if you decide to go the topic route, you will just need to provide your topic test scores from the topic website. If you are interested in going the KIP route, you can go to socialnet.go.kr, this website here, to learn more about it and start the program. One caveat I want to point out is that the topic test scores expire after about 2 years, which means every 2 years you would need to retake the topic test and make sure that you receive the same points in order to continue to renew this visa. If you go the KIP route, you do not ever need to renew your KIP courses, and you can continue to use your KIP test scores repeatedly as long as you want. So it's for this reason that most people will not rely on topic test scores for this visa, and they will just go straight into the KIP program and aim for this level 5. The next category is going to be your annual income, and this is based off of the taxes that you pay. So if you're in a situation where not all of your income is taxed, like for example, you receive a housing allowance from your workplace, but that housing allowance is not being taxed, then unfortunately that money will not count towards your annual income. If you look at the different brackets, you can see here that between minimum wage and 30 million won a year is going to give you 10 points. If you make between 30 million and 40 million a year, you'll get 30 points. Now, if you're switching over from an E2, these other brackets might not really apply to you, but if you look between 40 and 50, 50, 60, you can continue to see how many points you can get for each income level. In order to prove your annual income, you will need this document here, the 소득 금액 증명서, which is something that you can get from your local tax office or from just your local neighborhood office. Now, these documents will only come out in May every year. So if you're applying for this visa in February, you're not going to be able to use your taxes from the last calendar year. But that's okay because you can use it from the year previous. So if it's before May, you can use the one from 2 years ago. If it's after May, you can use the one from last year. Then the next large category is going to be additional points. These first two ones are very specific cases that are just not likely going to apply to you, so I'm going to skip them for this video. In this box, this is if you completed the KIP program through level 5. If you complete level 5, you will get the points for the Korean language at the level 5 and an additional 10 points. This is why most people will not take the topic test and they will focus on getting to KIP level 5 because you will total 30 points between this and the language points. If you do KIP level 5, you just need to go to socialnet.go.kr and make sure that you print out both your level 5 exam and your certificate of completion. So there will be 2 documents for the KIP. Then this next category here is if you attended a top university or a university in Korea. So if you attended a Times Higher Education top university, so you can check that out at timeshighereducation.com, or you can also go to the topicuniversities.com and check if your school is in the top 500 list. If it is, you qualify to get these points for the bachelor's level, 20 points for the master's level, or 30 points if you have a PhD from a top university. Immigration should be able to check whether your school is on this list or not, but just to save yourself some time and explanation, I recommend printing out one of these lists in advance and bringing it with you to your appointment. Now, this other section here is if you attended a university in Korea and actually received a degree. So if you received a bachelor's in Korea, you can get 5 points. If you did your master's in Korea, 7 points. And if you did a PhD, you can get 10 points. If you received a degree in Korea, you just need to provide proof from your Korean university of your diploma. Then this last section here is if you did volunteer work in Korea. So between 1 and 2 years, you can only get 1 point. 2 to 3 years, you can get 5. And 3 or more years, you can get 7. So obviously, you're not really going to get a lot of points from this in a very short amount of time. And also, you can't just do any sort of volunteer work to get these points. You have to make sure that you go to this website, www.vms.or.kr, and you sign up for volunteer work through this service. Then keep in mind this website is going to be totally in Korean, and for the most part, all the volunteer work is going to be in Korean, which is going to create somewhat of a barrier for a lot of you to get these volunteer points. So for that reason, it's not necessarily very popular for people to go this route, unless this is something that you just genuinely enjoy doing and you just happen to receive points because of it. So now I thought we would go through a little scenario to see how the points add up. So if we look at my case, for example, I'm 32 years old, in case you didn't know. I have a bachelor's degree, both a bachelor's of arts and a bachelor's of science, so that gives me both like the 2 degrees and the science degree. And I passed KIP level 5. So taking this into account, if I look here, so let's just add up what I have so far without my salary. Okay, so I have 70 points without my salary. Now, if we go down and look at the annual income, so if I make above minimum wage, I get 10 points. Okay, so it really doesn't matter what my salary is because at the lowest salary bracket, I get just enough points to get the visa. So assuming that I have like very minimum wage salary, I'm going to get 80 points and I can get the visa. Woo! But something I wanted to point out to you guys is an unfortunate fact about this visa, because you have to prove these points every time you renew your visa. So if I get these 80 points 1 year and then next year I go to renew my visa, there's a possibility that I don't have 80 points anymore. The problem is age. I'm in this bracket between 30 and 34 years old, and I have 23 here. Now, the moment that I turn 35, I will lose points, which means that I will only get 77 total points. And then what can I do? The only thing that I can do at this point is to find points elsewhere. So that's something that I wanted to point out to you guys, to keep in mind that these points have to be proven every time you renew. So scenario 2, let's pretend this individual is 23 years old. They have a bachelor's of science degree. Their salary is $2,400,000 a month, and they receive $500,000 a month in housing allowance, and their housing allowance is taxed as income. This means they are between the 30 and 40 million income, and they've been in Korea for 4 years. So if they are 23 years old, they are in the youngest age bracket for 23 points. If they have a bachelor's of science, they can actually get this 17 points for that. Then let's skip their Korean level and come back to that. And we said that this time their income is between 30 and 40 million won. So they're going to get 30 points for their income. And so far we don't know about their Korean language, so they have 0 additional points. So if we add this up so far, puts them at 70. So this individual would only need to make up for an additional 10 points to get the visa. Also, if we consider their age, because they're so young, they're actually going to increase points as they get older and then go back down to the current points that they have now. So for about the next 10 years, they don't really need to worry about their age affecting their points. So if we go down and look at the Korean language section, this individual would only need to pass level 3. And then because of their age bracket, they would be at 80 points for about the next 10 years. So for this individual, I would recommend that they just at least get to level 3 in order to get the visa. And then maybe once they hit an older age bracket, if their salary does not move, I would recommend that they can always go back and increase their KIP scores. So this is essentially how I would go about figuring out the points you have and what you need to do to qualify for this visa. First, add up your age, your education, your salary information, if you have any current bonus points, and then from that, kind of calculate backwards to decide where you need to fall on your Korean language at a minimum so that you can get the visa. Then as you get older or you continue in your career or in your education, you can always recoup more points in time to balance out this issue with the age points going down. Once you have all of your documents prepared, the time finally comes to go to immigration and apply for the visa. And I know it can be a little bit scary. Yeah, it's very scary. Make sure that you have all your documents prepared and that you are ready to bring them to immigration. I will put a list down in the description box for you guys to reference as well. Make sure that you give yourself enough time to withdraw some cash, pick up your revenue stamps, and also if you need it, get your photos taken for your new ARC card. They will check if they have everything that they need, and if they do, they will take your documents. They will tell you to come back on another day, and they will give you your temporary identification paper, and then you wait. I'm not sure exactly what the wait time is now, but you can expect to wait a few weeks. While you are waiting, you might get a text message letting you know that it was approved. Not everyone will receive this text message. Some people do, some people don't. But you really don't need to worry, because if they've accepted your paperwork, for the most part, you're just going to wait until your pickup date. And then when that date comes, you're just going to go back to the immigration office and they're going to have your brand new ARC ready for you. Then that's essentially all there is to it. If you're wondering how many years you're going to get on this visa, it's all, for the most part, predetermined based on your points and salary. Whichever one is in a higher bracket is the one that you're going to pay attention to. I know that this process seems really complicated, but if you have any specific questions that you feel like I didn't answer in this video, please comment down below. I'll do my best to answer whatever I can for you. I will also put a list of all the main documents that you need down in the description box. And I will also put a list of links to different resources as well for you guys to check out. Also, I highly recommend on Facebook joining the F27 visa holders in Korea group. I will link that down in the description box as well. And even though the name says F27 visa holders, you can actually join that group while you are in the application process. That community is amazing. I feel like they answer so many questions, not only about how to apply for the visa, but they also are great at answering a lot of questions about freelancing, taxes, and all of these more like complicated things that might come up while you're living on the visa. Also, if you have a very specific question that I'm not able to answer and you can't find the answer in that group, you can also call 1345, which is the immigration hotline number, and you can contact them in English. Thanks for watching, everyone. Good luck on your visa applications, and I will hopefully see you guys in my next video.